What up, ladies and gentlemen? Mixing up a little bit. Welcome to episode number 113 of Siriani Says Sports, all the time. And yes, we're one man down. Ryan Barrett Jr. has an important thing going on as far as his classes is concerned at Monmouth University. So we're going to give him his privacy and make sure that he b- stays like he's a good student. So Laura and I are going to hold it down. But anyways, I'm Matt Siriani, and I won my fantasy matchup by 4 points this week. And that's Laura Antonio from Burbank, California. How you doing, Laura?
Doing good, Matt. It's got college football, basketball behind me right there. I mean, we had the playoff show before, and looking forward to a great show tonight.
Absolutely. We're gonna have a great show tonight, but we're gonna start off. We're gonna talk about football. We're gonna talk about professional football. We're gonna talk about Championship Saturday, the four conference championship games that mean more to college football than the ACC championship game. And I gotta give a shout to my sister Samantha Siriani. She helped me with my mic before the show. We had some technical difficulties. That's why we didn't start the show on time. But I gotta give a shout to Sam because she's a, a technological wizard, and yeah, I'm just grateful to have her. But anyway, we're gonna get right into this. So we're gonna go right into actually before we get into any sort of football, we have a major thing to talk about, and this is regarding um Colorcast. Actually, before we get into Colorcast, let's get into our sponsors before we start the show off. Sirianni Says Sports is sponsored by the following: DAS Technology Consulting, simplifying technology. Uh, Valix Enterprises, building projects for success. The Grace Foundation of New York, support, empower, educate, enhance. We're also sponsored by Integrated Planning Group, client focused, advice driven. We're sponsored by, oh boy, we're Rocco's Original
Outback
Italian Ices.
Steakhouse.
Rocco's Original Italian Ices, a sweet tartare treat all year round. Outback Steakhouse, Aussie rules. And we're also sponsored by Jag One Physical Therapy, official therapy provider for the teams you love. So those are our 7 sponsors. If you want to follow any of them, follow them. They're really great sponsors. Thank you for supporting our show. But we got to get into the state of the Colorcast address is what I call it. And Loro and I have been talking about this for a little bit. So as you know, we've talked about Colorcast on this show quite a bit. We promoted the app. We've done all of this over the last several months, ever since Ryan and I started doing this show on Colorcast. But let me explain what Colorcast is for those of you who don't understand what the app is. So Colorcast is a sports app where you can call any game ever that's going on live for that particular day, week, month, whatever. You could arrange your calls in advance. You can pick who you want to do a call with. Multiple casters can call a single game. It's a great, it's a phenomenal concept. And it's not even a sport. Well, it's primarily a sports thing. But I've seen Live Love Sports, and I want to give a shout out to Live Love Sports. She's casted The Bachelor, Bachelorette, and Bachelor in Paradise. So more power to you, Liv. Like I don't know what you're doing now, but that's a pretty creative way to use the app. But anyway, I digress. Colorcast is at a point right now where people are hardly on the app anymore, and also, unfortunately, the app has not evolved with other platforms and other apps that have come along. And for context, Loro and I, when we call our games on Sunday and Monday, we're using Twitter Spaces to call these games now. And Twitter Spaces is similar to Colorcast, where it's all audio based. It's mostly a audio platform. People can listen to your cast. They can listen to your stream. They can do whatever. They can interact with you. Colorcast used to be a big deal last year, at least, and I know that for a fact that when I was introduced to the app by Mr. Evan Kirkham, who I got to give a shout out to, he's the CEO of Colorcast. Got to give a shout out to Mr. Kirkham. Um, I thought this app was going to be a toy that everyone wanted to play with, but unfortunately, new platforms have come along. Colorcast has not evolved, has not stood the test of time, and now places like Spotify and Twitter Spaces and Instagram Live. I guess I'm just making platforms at this rate. But unfortunately, Colorcast is not going down the path that many people would hope it would, as far as like staying on top of the community, finding ways to make it innovative, finding ways to keep up with the times. And unfortunately, Colorcast is going to be disintegrating after this year. In 2023, there will be no Colorcast anymore, and it's very, very unfortunate because when I first got on, I met Laurel through the app. I think it was December of last year. Um, and we've built a partnership out of it. We do our Talking Sports show with Lauro and Matt through Colorcast originally. We call games through Colorcast originally. But here's what happened, and here's where we kind of gave up on Colorcast for a little bit. We tried to call the Chargers Chiefs game on Sunday Night Football, and for some reason I couldn't join the cast as a co-caster because there were bugs and glitches surrounding the app. And so what happened was we had to switch to Twitter Spaces due to this. And unfortunately, we had to sell for Twitter Spaces, and unfortunately, Colorcast is losing a lot of members. And unfortunately, Laura and I were the last two members of the community that were trying to keep it alive. Like, if you go on Colorcast now, the only two people that were active on the app were me and Loro. There was nobody else. But unfortunately, there's always a positive to this. We're taking our content to Twitter Spaces and Facebook. We're going to be. Loro just made a Facebook page for Talking Sports with Loro and Matt, which is our second show that we do. And we're also going to be doing content on Twitter Spaces as far as calling the games go. I love calling games. It keeps my broadcasting dreams alive. It's just a phenomenal concept. But listen, Colorcast is a phenomenal concept. I got to give Evan Kirkham a lot of credit. He built a big community, and it was great for a certain period of time. But unfortunately, all good things must come to an end. Lauro, is there anything you want to add or say to this?
My thoughts on this is I was grateful to meet you through the app, and we built a great partnership, and I'm looking forward to a new era of doing Talking Sports with Lauro and Matt on Facebook Live, and then still calling games with you on Twitter Spaces. But as I ease the transition, I'm still going to call Patriots and Thursday Night Football games and some Laker games on Colorcast to kind of ease the transition.
Yeah, but like, I know you. I want to ask you a couple questions about this because this is kind of a big deal. Like, Colorcast was your biggest thing. Like, I know you love the community. You've said it time and time again. You've supported the app through and through. Colorcast actually would mention you on Twitter every time you would go live, and that must have been great. But did you expect Colorcast to kind of evaporate the way it has all of a sudden?
No, absolutely not.
Yeah, like I said, like when I introduced my father to this, he went crazy about this. He was like, "Oh my god, this is gonna be the next big thing," and it's just unfortunate. Like, the great ideas last for a certain period of time, but unfortunately for this, it wasn't meant to be. I do got to give a shout out to other people who are part of the Colorcast community that we keep in touch with to this day outside the app. Patrick, our friend Patrick, who's been promoting us like crazy. I got to give a shout out to Patrick. I got to give a shout out to Armchair co-host. I got to give a shout out to Zach Cantrell, um, Cap No Cap. Like, if I forget any other name, like Live Love Sports, if I forget you, it's not on purpose. Like, there's just a lot of people that I have to mention. There's just only so much time that we have on the show that I can't mention everyone in one sentence. So you're awesome people. Thank you for promoting us, and thank you for gracing us with your presence whenever we did Colorcast. Thank you for supporting our casts whenever we called games. Like, it was such an amazing thing for you guys to do. You didn't have to do it, but you did anyway, and we acknowledge your support as much as you acknowledge us. But yeah, that's the thing with Colorcast. It's gonna be gone soon. I don't know what's gonna happen to it. It might become a sports betting. Lauro,
It's it is it's going to become a sports betting app. It's going to be called Outlier.
Okay, so we'll become a sports betting app. My father, who's a big gambler, he's gonna love that. But yeah, I just wanted to address that. We just wanted to address that really quick because Colorcast was such a big part of our success and a big part of our start together as a duo. So to see this happen is kind of unfortunate, but it's out of our control, and there's nothing we
And
can
the
do about
show
it.
goes on.
The show must go on. Exactly. Um, I just gotta bring up a couple of comments here. Just saw the new page. Looks great. Can't wait to watch you guys on Saturday. Thank you very much.
Thanks,
Uh,
Chris. We appreciate that.
Chris Urek, always the number one supporter. Technical wizard. Yes, Sam Siriani is a technical wizard. And the Terps fear the turtle. Yep, big time. Yes, thank you, Chris, for taking me to the gym prior to the show. I appreciate that. All right, but anyway, now we're going to get into sports because Colorcast, as much as we love it, it can't take up an hour of our time. All right, so now we're going to get into sports here, and I'm ready for this. We have college football. The top six were revealed. Loro just broke it down on his Instagram. If you haven't followed him, I think it's Mo, can you please tell people your Instagram so they can follow you?
My Instagram is Loro Sports Guy. So if you haven't followed it yet, please be sure to do that.
Yeah, so Lowell Sports Guys. So Lowell posts up the top 6 for college football, the latest rankings according to the committee, and they go as follows: Alabama is at 6, Ellis or Ohio State's at 5, 4 is USC, 3 is TCU, 2 is Michigan, and 1 is Georgia. Now, I thought that Ohio State and Alabama were going to be flipped. I thought Alabama was going to be 5 and Ohio State was going to be 6, and the reason why I say that is because Alabama's 2 losses came on the last play of a game. So I thought that they deserve more recognition than Ohio State, who got blown out by Michigan and their home stadium. So that's my opinion of this. Laurel, are you even surprised with this top 6 scenario? Shocked you that Bama actually has a chance?
I think Bama has a chance. I think that if USC or TCU loses their championship games, then I do think that Alabama's going to get in. It's a long shot, but Alabama can't really control that.
Now they can't because they're not going to be playing on Championship Saturday. It's going to be LSU versus Georgia in the SEC Championship game. It's going to be USC versus Utah in the Pac-12 Championship game. It's going to be Michigan versus Purdue in the Big Ten Championship game. And it's going to be TCU versus Kansas State in the Big 12 Championship game. And as far as the ACC Championship game goes, Clemson's playing North Carolina, but both teams took major losses in the final week of the regular season. So the ACC is basically out of it when it comes to college football playoff. Should be a fun game though. But as far as like playoff aspirations, the ACC is kind of dashed, unfortunately.
Yep, it definitely got dashed. That's for sure. And I think that we're gonna have a great weekend of college football this weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. And what we're gonna do now, we're gonna preview the 4 championship games that actually matter. Ryan, like I said, he was supposed to be on the show today, but he had a lot of stuff going on. So we're going. Will the new format allow for people to call in? I want to bring up that comment really quick. Loro, do you have any answers to this? For the new format?
Which new format? What was he
guess,
talking about?
I guess he's referring to Twitter Spaces, and I guess he's referring to the Facebook Live show for Talking Sports.
The new format will allow people to comment on our takes for Talking Sports with Loro and Matt, and then for Twitter Spaces when Matt and I call games, you are welcome to listen to us call the game. So that answers your question, Chris.
Yeah, Chris is gonna have a lot of questions about this because he really wants to see us do well. But anyway, we're gonna preview the 4 championship games that actually matter. Let's take a quick jab at the ACC championship game. I know it doesn't really have much significance, but if you had to pick a winner for the ACC championship game between North Carolina and Clemson, who would you pick?
Going with North Carolina. I love Mac Brown. I'm glad Mac Brown is back as a head coach in college football. He was great at Texas. He has rejuvenated the North Carolina Tar Heel football program.
And you know what? I'm going to go with you. I'm not really crazy with DJ Uiagalelei and Clemson. I think Clemson's kind of taking a step backwards. I think that North Carolina could really raise some eyebrows and win convincingly in the ACC championship game. But now, here's what we're going to do.
Before that, I have some news to talk about with Auburn.
Really?
As the new head coach of Auburn is Hugh Freeze out of Liberty. He has accepted to be the next head coach of the University of Auburn, and Hugh Freeze is back in the SEC.
That's amazing news. Ole Miss coach, really, really good. Get the program afloat. Did you expect this? And what's the contract for Hugh Freeze? Do you even know?
I don't really know the contract of it, but Auburn just picked him out. I didn't think that they would pick him, but I think he might. I think he's going to be better for that. For college football, though. He's going to be better for Auburn for sure. Over Brian Harsin.
Oh yeah, that was a disaster. All right, so here's what we're going to do. Loro's going to preview the SEC championship game, and I'm going to give them the Big 12 championship game. I'm going to preview the Big 10 because that's my conference, Rutgers, and I'll preview the Pac-12 championship game. So
yeah, I'll do the Pac-12 with you, Matt, and then Ryan was supposed to
do the Big 10.
Preview the Big 10, but I'll give you my pick for that as well. So go ahead.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to start off with the Pac-12 championship game, and Loro, you can do this with me if you absolutely want to. Utah versus USC. Out of all 4 championship matchups, this is the one I'm most excited about. And you want to know why? Because Utah is the only team to knock off USC this season. Utah is very capable of playing spoiler. They did it last year with Oregon. And USC, Caleb Williams is, I think Caleb Williams is the Heisman Trophy winner. I think he's a front runner, if not the clear deadlock guy to win it. Especially with his performance against Notre Dame. He was phenomenal. 3 rushing touchdowns and threw for another. In a game that USC had to have in order to keep their playoff hopes alive. And I think that we can absolutely see a classic here. I mean, if we go back to USC versus Utah early in the season, I think it will really be a tough one. It'll be a close one because Utah is really good defensively, and I think that they're really good offensively to keep up with Notre Dame and their scoring pace. But I think Caleb Williams needs to have a signature moment for USC to officially clinch their playoff berth.
Okay, I'll tell you who I pick here. I'm going to pick USC. I think that they get revenge on Utah.
I, as much as I want USC to win, and as much as I want Caleb Williams to have that Heisman Trophy signature moment in a big game, I gotta say, I gotta go with Utah. I think Utah. Last time these teams met, it was a 43-42 scoring affair, where Utah, rising at 415 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. He also ran for 60 yards and 3 scores. Kincaid had 234 receiving yards on 16 catches. So it was kind of amazing. I think Utah, they can get the same production out of Rising again. I think that Utah can really shock people and maybe pull off the upset over USC. But it should be a good game. I'm actually more intrigued about this game than ever. So that game's on Friday, which is December 2nd at 8 p.m. Looking forward to it. And then we also have we're going to go to Loro's neck of the woods, the SEC Championship game. Preview that for us, Loro.
Well, everybody should know that it's supposed to be Alabama and Georgia to play for the SEC primacy again, but Alabama did not win the SEC West. Georgia is back in the SEC championship game, representing the SEC East, and representing the SEC West is the LSU Tigers. I think it's going to be a great game. Who do I like in this game? I like Kirby Smart. I have the utmost respect for him out of this. I have great respect for Kirby. I think Kirby Smart is a fantastic coach. But Matt, I'll tell you, I'm going to go with the LSU Tigers to win. Give me the LSU Tigers to win, and I'm wearing that Tiger hat, and I'm going to make Coach O proud.
Good one. I like LSU, but they took a bad loss to Texas A&M on Saturday, and I think that's going to derail their momentum going into this game. Georgia, even though they lost half their starters to the draft, they still have one of the best defenses in college football. And if Stetson Bennett can really play a steady pace game, I think that Georgia could come out really well. I think Brock Bowers is going to have a good game. Catching the football, but I think Stetson Bennett's going to have a steady offensive performance throwing the football. But like I said, Georgia's defense is probably going to win them this game because their defense is still good. Still really good. All right. So next up, we have the Big Ten championship game. This is my neck of the woods. Go Rutgers, even though they're terrible. The Big Ten championship game is Michigan versus Purdue. Michigan undefeated 12-0 coming out of the Big Ten East. They beat Ohio State 45-23, wasn't even close. Kind of a shocker because of how bad Ohio State played. CJ Stroud threw 2 interceptions, and that's going to affect his draft stock. But let's not focus on the Buckeyes for a second. We're going to focus on this game. Michigan, Donovan Edwards had a field day against Ohio State running the football. I think he had over 200 yards rushing and 2 scores, one of which for 85 yards and another touchdown for 75 yards. Blake Corum is not 100%. He ran twice for 6 yards against Ohio State on Saturday. But J.J. McCarthy and this Michigan offense is going to easily have their way. I think Purdue is very, very overrated. I mean, they only won the Big Ten West because the Big Ten West was just not a good division to begin with. So If the best team in the Big Ten is going up against, I think, the fifth or sixth best team in the Big Ten, that doesn't bode well at all. And I think that Michigan's going to mollywop, which is the term for blowout. I think they're going to blow out or mollywop Purdue. Laura, what do you think?
I'm going to go with Michigan easily. I think it's going to not be a contest here, but I'm more excited about watching the SEC championship game. Don't mean to be biased here, but I am definitely going to be watching the Big Ten championship game. I'm looking forward to that, but I was kind of thinking it could have been Michigan versus Iowa if Iowa would get their acts together, but I think Michigan's going to win this easily.
Yeah, I think Michigan, like, it's not even going to be a contest. And even if Ohio State was in this position facing Purdue, I still think this would be a blowout. Listen, the bottom line is whoever won that Ohio State Michigan game was going to win the Big Ten Conference because that just shows you how much of a two-horse race it was. And ultimately, Michigan won. And that's the second year in a row that Michigan actually knocked off Ohio State. Very rare to see that. But again, that's just the beauty of college football. Next up, we have the Big 12 championship game. This has major repercussions. TCU going for the Big 12 title. If they win, they're in the college football playoff. They're playing a Kansas State team that was ranked 10th in the AP Top 25 poll. Loro, I don't know about you, but TCU looked dominant against Iowa State, but I think they're going to have a tough time against Kansas State second time around.
I'm going to go Kansas State to win this football game.
You're going to go Kansas State.
That way, if TCU loses, there still will be a way for my Alabama Crimson Tide to get in the college football playoff.
Interesting pick. Interesting pick. But not so fast, my friend. TCU is really, really dominant. They played Kansas State early in the season back on October 22nd, and they actually won 38-28 when Kansas State was ranked 17th in the country. I really like TCU's offense. I think their ground game is phenomenal. I think their quarterback is very, very underrated. I'm think I gotta go with Max Duggan and the TCU Horned Frogs. I think they make the college football playoff. I think USC is going to lose, so don't hate me that USC fans, but I think there's going to be a way for Alabama or Ohio State to get in the college football playoff. I think USC is going to go down to Utah. But
Well, and also don't forget next week on Siriani Says Sports, Matt and I and Ryan will be talking about the Army Navy game next Saturday.
the tradition, I love that. I love that tradition.
I can't wait. I can't wait. But I'll tell you guys this, I don't mean to be biased. I always go for Navy because that's where Bill Belichick went to school, and his father was a coach there. We have Joe Cardona, who we drafted out of that school. I think I like the Naval Academy, and I like the midshipmen over the Black Knights.
Mm. Well, I
But
like this.
I'll save more. We'll talk more about that Army Navy game next week.
Yeah, next week is going to be an Army Navy preview. But now we're going to get into NFL because this is actually kind of important. So, the Jets actually won a game, and the coin, which Ryan talked about last week, is not perfect anymore. The coin had the Bears beating the Jets, but after what happened, we saw Justin Fields what didn't play against the against the New York Jets because of a separated shoulder injury. Then Trevor Simeon got hurt, which would have left Nate Peterman to start, but unfortunately Nate Peterman never got to see the field because we know how Nate Peterman is as a quarterback. So Trevor Simeon took the start. Jets win 31-10. Mike White throws 3 touchdown passes and over 300 yards. Jets offense looks really good. But Robert Saleh said in a post-game conference, I got to rehash what he said because I think this is really, really nice of him to say. Zach Wilson hasn't been great since he came to the NFL. He hasn't been phenomenal. He's still trying to get better, and his attitude definitely hurt him a little bit. But Robert Saleh said in the post-game press conference following the Bears win, said, I never put Zach Wilson in position to succeed. Even though Robert Saleh has done everything he possibly could to put Zach Wilson in the best position to succeed. Sometimes, see, this is my opinion. And Lord, if you want to chip in, you absolutely could. My opinion is coaches always have to put their players in position to succeed. I think that Robert Saleh has done that. He drafted Garrett Wilson in the NFL draft. You get Brees Hall to help out your offense. You got Michael Carter the year before. You got Elijah Moore the year before. Like you have a lot of players that you built around your quarterback. And even though Zach Wilson is 22 years old, Zach Wilson hasn't helped Zach Wilson. Robert Saleh has done everything he could to help out Zach Wilson. So for him to take accountability when he really didn't need to, I thought that that was really, really noble of him to do. Robert Saleh is a great coach, but now he just made everyone realize that he's a great man. Loro?
Yeah, I mean, the character of Robert Saleh to take accountability for that, I like it, and I think that it tells me something that it tells me that Robert Saleh is a guy that just cares about building a winning team. And is Zach Wilson the perfect quarterback for him? No. Um, I think signs are pointing out that Zach Wilson might not be a New York Jet next year, or maybe he gets another shot at being the starting quarterback for the New York Jets.
I think if I were the Jets, I'd give Zach Wilson one more year. And if things don't pan out, then you got to move on. Now, this doesn't mean that Mike White's the answer, unfortunately. That Mike White is not the answer. As good as he is, he's not the long term answer because it's just like this is a guy who I think came out of Northwestern, which is why Mike Greenberg loves him so much. And he's just a bridge gap. You got to build your franchise around a quarterback. I mean, it's not far fetched. I mean, Tom Brady was a seventh round, eighth round draft pick, and look what the Patriots did for 15, 20 years. So a starting quarterback could literally come out of nowhere. But as far as Mike White, I don't really see him being a 16 season a week starter. I think more so he's just a bridge gap for a young up and coming quarterback. And the quarterback draft class in the next 1 to 2 years could be better than what Zach Wilson has to offer.
Yeah, you're right about that. I mean, Zach Wilson, I know he has potential, but he knows he could do better. But we have breaking news to talk about here, which
Mhm.
regards to Matt and I's primetime Sunday and Monday night schedule. One of the Week 14 games has been flexed, which is the Chargers and Dolphins game, which was supposed to be at 1:05 Pacific time next Sunday. It is now going to be moved to Sunday Night Football. As next Sunday, Matt and I will be calling the Chargers and Dolphins game. And Matt, this will be our first Miami Dolphins game we do together.
Awesome. Thank you for the news on that one. So what was the original Sunday night game that week? I'm just
We
curious.
were supposed to call Chiefs and Broncos, but since the
Mm-hmm.
Broncos are so bad, they moved that game out of Sunday
What
Night
I,
Football.
what did I tell you, Loro? What did I tell you?
That as much as you and I love calling Patrick Mahomes type games, and we've done two Denver Broncos games together this
Yeah,
season.
and they were both bad.
And those were both bad games. And the game coming up when we do Tua versus Herbert, I tell you, this is going to be a much better matchup. And I was thinking to myself, we're going to do a game together on Sunday Night Football in Week 14, regardless if that Chiefs and Broncos game gets moved or not.
Well, one of the things I told Loro, for those of you who don't know, I told Loro name branding at this stage of the season doesn't matter because the Broncos have been terrible. And I know Russell Wilson versus Patrick Mahomes sounds enticing, but the Broncos are terrible. We're gonna get into them actually in a little bit. But again, like you want a competitive game on Sunday Night Football, not a blowout, not a dog crap game. You want a competitive game that actually has significance. And Broncos Chiefs does not have that significance. Dolphins Chargers, however, absolutely has a significance. You're talking about two teams that are fighting for playoff positioning, playoff spots. So absolutely, I'll take that any day of the week. But now we're going to get into the Denver Broncos now. There's a reason why this game got flexed out because the Denver Broncos suffered a humiliating loss to the Carolina Panthers in Carolina, losing 23-10. And there was a moment on the sideline where Russell Wilson was, I think, arguing with one of his players or a coach or something like that. It didn't look good. And think of it, this is a guy who's always had composure. He's never complained about anything bad. But my God, year one, he's already think of it. He's a Bronco for the rest of his career. He can't leave unless his contract just doesn't pan out. But this is the guy who said, "Let's ride," at his opening press conference with the Broncos, and things have just gone south, and I mean really, really down south. But to see this kind of tension on the sideline, that just tells you the state of the Broncos right now, right?
Oh yeah, I mean it's a good segment to talk about here on Loro Knows. So you talk about an embarrassing 23-10 loss. As I made the announcement that Broncos Chiefs game has been flexed out of Sunday Night Football. Matt and I were supposed to call that game together next Sunday, but instead Matt and I get Dolphins Chargers, and basically next Sunday Matt and I will be back in my neck of the woods calling the Chargers and Dolphins game, because this upcoming Sunday Matt and I will be in Jerry World
Mm-hmm.
calling the Fighting Jeff Saturdays when they take on the Dallas Cowboys.
Absolutely, and I can't wait for that. The Fighting Jeff Saturdays. So let me ask you a question, and this is in relation to the Low Road Nose. I know you said yesterday on our cast for the Steelers Colts game, you said you were going to go off on the Broncos, and you said you were going to go off on Nathaniel Hackett. What's on your mind?
Nathaniel Hackett, I want to go on a big rant on him. Was he built to be a head coach? No. Was he built to be a good offensive genius and play caller? No. He never called plays when he was an offensive coordinator for the Bills, for Syracuse, and for the Jags. And Nathaniel Hackett has lost his course as the head coach of the Broncos, and I think he's not making Russell Wilson look good. He's
Mm-mm.
not making him look like an elite quarterback out there, not looking like the Russell Wilson that we all know and love. I mean, I love the guy. I love Russell. Russell's a great person, but a great quarterback too. I know he still has a lot left in him, but my God, this coaching for the Denver Broncos is dismal. And I wanted Nathaniel Hackett fired after the game against Carolina, but Broncos ownership in Rob Walton and Kerry Perner didn't want to fire him right away. They wanted to wait it out because they didn't want to panic. They're still new to this. Is George
Right.
Payton going to get fired? If he does get fired, he's scapegoated, because that was not the choice. When the new ownership came in, that was not really their first choice. They might want to, I think Broncos' new ownership after this season, they want to clean house. Everything from head coach, GM, the Perner and Walton family are going to want their own people.
Yeah. I can't believe you got that off your chest, but that was really like I didn't expect you to go all that off, but like the Broncos have really been in disgrace. And this game against Carolina just tells you. And for those of you who want stats about the Denver Broncos and how bad they've been, worst offensive points per game, worst offense in yards, worst offensive completion percentage, worst offensive red zone percentage. They're the worst offense in the NFL, and it's not even close. And that should just tell you the state of affair this team is in. And the thing, the talent that you have: Jerry Judy, Javonte Williams, who's hurt for the year, Russell Wilson, Cortland Sutton. You have Alberto, who's a pretty decent tight end. You have a good offensive line. You had Melvin Gordon, but then you trade him away because age was clearly a factor in his play. You have Latavius Murray. You have so many pieces on this Broncos offense, and for some reason it's not clicking. You can't blame Russell Wilson because Russell Wilson is still in the thick of his and is still in his prime. I think he's still in his prime. You gotta blame the coaching. Coaching is absolutely the problem. And Nathaniel Hackett, the reason why he was hired for the as the Broncos head coach was because they thought they were going to get Aaron Rodgers to come to come to Denver, and it'd be the Green Bay reunion. You know, you get the two-time back-to-back MVP in Denver at Mile High to perform at a high level against Mahomes, against Derek Carr, against Justin Herbert, but apparently it didn't turn out to be that way. And when they got Russell Wilson, I don't think they were really that excited because Nathaniel Hackett wanted Aaron Rodgers. But clearly, from from clock management to play calling, Nathaniel Hackett has been a disgrace. I wouldn't be surprised if he's one and done, but I'm shocked he didn't get fired yesterday. I think really, you look at this Denver Broncos team, they need a new coach. I don't know who it's going to be, but Loro, you had a coach in mind. You told me your head coaching predictions for 2023 for those who get fired. What do you think?
I think, assuming Nathaniel Hackett gets fired after the season, which I think is likely, you know, I wanted the Denver Broncos to hire Dan Quinn as their next head coach. I mean, You talk about a great defensive mind that could really help with this defense. Dan Quinn can hire an offensive coordinator that can help run the offense. I mean, he'll also be known for 28-3, but,
Mhm.
I think Dan Quinn is still, to me, he can be a great head coach in this league. And he knows Russell Wilson well. And he can get an offensive coordinator that could help Russell Wilson play to his strengths. For example, I think he should promote Clint Kubiak to offensive coordinator.
And for those of you who don't know, Clint Kubiak is the son of former Broncos head coach Gary Kubiak. So that could be a good decision. I think that the Broncos, they have a lot of stuff to clean up, and I think Nathaniel Hackett's just not the guy for the future. But I can't wait for post week 18 and we do our show and we go over all the head coaches that were fired. Because the way things are looking at, there might be a lot of Black Monday firings. Like a
I
lot.
even thought heading into this season there weren't going to be much, but from the looks of it, Nathaniel Hackett's one and done. I think Dennis Allen's going to be one and done. Josh McDaniels, I think, is safe. I think that he's going to get a pass.
I think Josh McDaniels is safe for now. I think we'll get one more year.
So that's what I think here. And the Denver Broncos, I mean, good thing Matt and I won't see another Denver disaster on our casts.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. It was just a mess. The Bronco games that were in prime time, they just completely disappointed. Whether it was Thursday night, Monday night, Sunday night, like they were a mess.
Yeah,
Um,
especially back in September when we did Russell Wilson's homecoming and McManus kicking that long field goal attempt wasn't. Um, I didn't
didn't
think
go
that.
through.
I didn't think Nathaniel Hackett made the right choice there, and he took a lot of time off the clock.
Yeah, it just wasn't good execution. All right. Now, before we actually go into our fun fact of the day and our picks based on the spread, we have some major news regarding the Green Bay Packers. Aaron Rodgers, if you watched the Philadelphia Eagles Green Bay Packers game, Aaron Rodgers hurt his ribs in the Philadelphia game, I think in the third or fourth quarter, when the Packers were trailing and trying to make a comeback. Aaron Rodgers will likely play against the Chicago Bears this week, but I don't know if that's going to be the smartest decision in the world. The Bears, while they're reeling right now, their Packers offense does not look well. They put up 33 points. I don't know why I'm saying that they weren't good, but like Aaron Rodgers missed some throws. We know he had the thumb injury already, but now he has the ribs to worry about. Matt LaFleur said that Aaron Rodgers will play if he needs to or if he wants to, and we know that Pat McAfee's going to have Aaron Rodgers on his show on Wednesday because that's usually what happens on the Pat McAfee show. Um, Jordan Love came in relief, looked pretty good. I want to see more of him. I think that Jordan Love has a lot of potential, but the Eagles still won 40-33. And Laurel, I'm looking at this Packers team right now, and I just don't know if the future looks bright for them at all. I mean, Aaron Rodgers is 39 years old. He's not getting any younger. He's getting banged up. And unfortunately, this Packers offense is not looking the way it was when they had Devontae Adams. What do you see going on with this Packers team in the future if Aaron Rodgers does not come back?
Probably it's going to be Jordan Love. What you saw from him in relief, you could see that him and Christian Watson were connecting. And if the Packers go in a rebuild, Jordan Love, I think, is the guy.
Yeah, I think so too. I think I talk about sample sizes a lot when it comes to quarterbacks. Jordan Love had 2 games that he's played this year. He played in relief for Aaron Rodgers this past Sunday, and he had the Chiefs game after Aaron Rodgers got COVID. So that's only 2 games that he's really performed, and I think he's shown some bright spots. His progression really got better from the Chiefs game. The Chiefs game, he didn't play well at all. The Eagle game, he played significantly better in relief, which is kind of amazing. But when you're sitting behind one of the greatest of all time, a former 4-time MVP, you can kind of see where he's getting this from. Um, I genuinely believe that the Packers are in for a rough future because Matt LaFleur is going to stay. There's no question about it. But your offensive weapons, Christian Watson looks like your number one receiver moving forward. Jordan Love looks like your quarterback moving forward. But what will happen to Aaron Rodgers? Will he go somewhere else? Do you see him retiring after the season? Like, what do you think is going to happen to him?
It wouldn't surprise me if Aaron Rodgers hangs it up. I mean, he had nonsense comments on this vaccine. He's a liar. Aaron Rodgers, to me, I just think that Aaron Rodgers has stayed his course.
Yeah, yeah. Four MVP awards has like, he's done a lot over the course of his career, and I think at age 39, I think that he's literally done everything that he could for the game. I did hear rumors that the Jets might want to target him in case Zach Wilson doesn't pan out, but why even do that? Like you're not gonna have Rodgers for a long time anyway. So that's really the only concern I have for that. And as far as the Packers go, they're not going to be winning a division title for a long time. For a long, long time. They won't be division contenders for a long time. I think this is Minnesota's division to lose moving forward.
Well, if you talk about the Vikings, I mean, Kirk Cousins, I think, has kept them at float. And, I think the reason why I think the Vikings are going to probably win the division in consecutive years, it's going to be because of the coaching.
Oh yeah, Kevin O'Connell's been phenomenal. Kevin
And
O'Connell's been
he
absolutely phenomenal.
and who would have thought that a rookie head coach would lead the Vikings this far?
Listen, if the Vikings win this week and the Packers and Lions both lose their games, Minnesota's going to clinch the division title this week. They could clinch the division title 5 weeks before the season ends. That's crazy.
Talk about Green Bay being a laughing stock.
And Detroit's playing competitive football, but they're not going to go anywhere this year, I think.
Yeah,
All
they're not
right.
going to.
Yeah, they're not going to go anywhere. All right. So, before we get into that, let's get into our fun fact of the day. I know Loro and I talked about this yet last night. Fun fact of the day. If the season were to end right now, the entire NFC East will be in the playoffs. Nope, I'm not lying. The Cowboys are 8-3. They have the first wild card spot. The Giants are 7-4. They have the second wild card spot, and the Washington Commanders are 7-5. They have the third wild card spot in the NFC playoffs. The Eagles would have the number one seed. They're 10-1. Who remember 2 years ago this was the NFC least. Now they're the NFC beasts. And I know Laura and I talked about it. Like there's still a lot of NFC East division games to come up. So we unfortunately might not get all four NFC East teams in the playoffs, but my God, that's just something I wanted to state.
I know. I mean, I have Philly winning that division. I said it from the beginning of the season. And I think the Eagles are a team that I think is more built to contend for a long time over Dallas. And I think the Eagles are going to be, I think the Eagles got that division on lockdown now.
Oh yeah, absolutely, they got the division on lockdown, especially because Dallas they're too far behind. They got to play the Eagles one more time, and I think that it's too much to catch up. I think the Eagles, Jalen Hurts has been dominant. The defense has
That's my
been
guy,
solid.
former,
There's your guy,
former, former Roll Tide. And,
former
um,
Roll Tide guy.
and we're going to see another Roll Tide guy next Sunday on Twitter's Faces. And I can't wait to call a game featuring Tua with you.
I know it. We haven't called it to a game yet. Um, but anyway, like it's just something I wanted to mention really, really fast because I know how big the NFC East is. They were a laughing stock 2 years ago, but now look at them. It takes patience. It simply takes patience. Now,
It
but like I
certainly
said,
does take patience, but you also talk about my division being beasts as well. Oh my gosh, this is a wide, wide open division. Everybody thought that this was a runaway for the Bills. I mean, I still think the Bills will win the division, but it's not going to be easy.
I mean, think of it. Miami's in first place, and they're looking really good.
The Dolphins are looking great, but I think that Week 15 game between the Bills and the Dolphins, that is going to be the deciding factor in the AFC East.
That Week 15 game is going to be huge. I agree with you 100%. All right, so now we're making really good time right now. We're only 44 minutes in. So what we're going to do now, we're going to go to our picks based on the spread, and then I have a couple things I want to do before we actually close the show because I promised I'd do it if I won my fantasy league this week, and I did, but I'll save that for later. So we're going to go to the NFL games. Week 13.
I have the
Lucky
games in
13.
front of me, and normally Ryan does, and I will be filling in for Ryan for this.
You have the spreads in front of you too?
Not the spreads. You have this. You can get the spreads.
Yeah, I have the spreads right in front of me.
So the first game we'll talk about here, the Bills and the Patriots. Thursday Night Football.
And the Bills are favored by 4 points.
I'm going to go with the New England Patriots. I hope that we get this win. And, the Patriots want to be alive in this playoff race. But if the Bills win, then I'm like, I don't know. But if we lose to the Bills, which I wouldn't be surprised about, then I would have to say next week on a Monday night when you and I do the Cardinals Patriots game will be a must win for the Patriots.
Oh, absolutely. I'm gonna go with the Patriots as well. I think the Bills aren't going to cover the spread. I think that it's in Gillette. Bill Belichick plays really well against the Buffalo Bills over the course of his career. One thing that I hope happens, and I think you're going to want the same thing too, if they can pound the ball down the Bills' throats with the run game, then this game's on lockdown for the Patriots. I
And
think it's
also, they're wearing their throwback helmets that day with their red jerseys, so that's going to bring
oh
us luck.
oh I love that. I love that. I love those throwback uniforms. All right, what's next?
Next up, we talk about the Pittsburgh Steelers taking on the Atlanta Falcons.
And the Steelers are favored by 1 point.
Ooh, this is tough. I'm gonna go with the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think Atlanta falls to 5-8, but you know what? I think that Mike Tomlin makes this team play hard regardless.
Mike Tomlin can only afford to lose one game this season if he wants to have a winning season for the 16th year in a row. And I think this Pittsburgh Steelers offense, we saw them last night against the Indianapolis Colts, and they look like they're in sync now. Obviously, no Najee Harris for an undetermined amount of time. But you know what? Benny Snell and Anthony McFarland looked really good last night for the run game. Kenny Pickett made some really tight throws yesterday. And how about George Pickens? He looks really, really good. I'm going to say Pittsburgh covers the spread. I think they win in Atlanta pretty convincingly. I think it's a 3-point win, so I think they cover the spread.
Next up, we talk about Russell Wilson and the disgruntled Denver Broncos going up against Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens.
And the Ravens are favored by 8.5.
They're not going to cover the spread. I'm going to say the Ravens win, but I'm going to say it's going to be a 63-0 game just because how bad Denver's offense is.
Wow.
I have the Ravens shutting them down.
I think the Ravens shut them down, but I don't think this is going to be a blowout. I think it's going to be a two-position game. I think it's going to be a 24-7 game. So I'm going to say the Baltimore Ravens cover the spread. And I think they win this one.
Next up, we got Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers going up against the Chicago Bears. Who's favored?
And the Packers are favored by 4 points.
This is a must-win for the Green Bay Packers. I'm going to go with the Green Bay Packers.
How many second chances do the Packers need?
I've said that. Look, if you look at their last 5 games, the Lions game they should have not lost. The Cowboys, they got lucky. Tennessee, they needed to win that game, but they lost again. So, how many chances am I going to give this team?
I'm going to give them one more chance.
If they lose to the Bears, Matt, then I'm going to throw their season to bed.
Yeah, I think you could put the season to bed if they lose to the Bears. But the Bears are getting better, but I think I'm going with the Packers covering the spread because
we just don't know if Justin Fields is going to be starting then.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know if Justin Fields is going to start, and then also the fact that Aaron Rodgers plays well against the Bears if he plays this game.
Yeah, hopefully he'll play this game. But
All right, what's
next up,
next?
we talk about Trevor Lawrence and the Jacksonville Jaguars going up against Dan Campbell and the Detroit Lions. Both teams are 4-7.
Fun game. Jaguars are favored by 1.
I'm going to go the Jacksonville Jaguars to win another game. They go to 5-7, and you know what? Their playoff hopes will still be alive.
I know, because if you look at the division race, they're not out of it yet. They're not out of it. They're 4-7.
I credit Doug Peterson and that coaching staff for doing a remarkable job, and I think this is a much better Jags team that we've seen from a year ago.
Absolutely. And I think that you look at this Jaguars team, I think Trevor Lawrence, they're coming off that win against Baltimore. That was, I think, the highlight of their season that could rejuvenate them. I think Detroit's really good too. I mean, like I said, this is a fun game because these are two 4-7 teams that have a lot to build on in the future. And I think both teams are going to be great in later years. But like I said, I got the Jaguars winning this game, covering the spread.
Next up, Deshaun Watson makes his homecoming, his return from an 11-game suspension, going up against a lowly Houston Texans team that who knows if they're going to win a game this year for the rest of the year, even though they got that one fluke win in Jacksonville.
You're going to be surprised by this. The Browns are only favored by 7 points.
Deshaun Watson coming home and playing against his former team. Do I think it's going to provide a spark for the Cleveland Browns to get back into the playoff mix? Absolutely. Give me the Cleveland Browns in this game.
I think Houston gets trampled in this game. Trampled. What's next?
Next up, the New York Jets. I don't know who their quarterback is against Kirk Cousins and the Minnesota Vikings.
And the Vikings are favored by 3.
I'm going to go with the Minnesota Vikings. I don't really like the Jets, to be honest with you, but this team has been a lot better this year than it was last season.
Definitely better than last season. And one thing I got to mention this about the Minnesota Vikings. One of the problems with the Minnesota Vikings a year ago was that they couldn't win close games. They're 8-0 in close games now. They're 8-0 in one possession games, which is kind of amazing when you looked at how bad they were in crunch time last year. This team is completely uh, turned a corner in close situations. And I think all the credit's got to go to the coaching staff. A lot of the credit's got to go to Kirk Cousins. A lot of credit's got to go to Justin Jefferson, that offense. But the defense has stepped up as well. And I think that that's really going to separate the Jets and Vikings in this game. I got Minnesota winning and covering.
Next up, Taylor Heineke and the Washington Commanders taking on Daniel Jones of the New York Giants. Matt, I'll tell you, I am having a hard time who I like in this game. I'm rooting for my boy Brian Dable, but will the Giants even be on a losing skid, or do the Commanders come out on top?
Well, I can tell you this: the Commanders are favored by 2.5.
I'm gonna go with the Washington Commanders. You know, this team has turned it around lately since their 1-4 start, and for the Giants, their easy part of the schedule is over, and this is basically the hard part of their schedule now. And their schedule down the stretch is rough.
Yeah, they got 4 division games in the final 6 weeks. That's really, really hard. And the only 2 games that are not division games are Minnesota and Indianapolis. I think those are going to be really, really hard, tough games for them to win. Um, the Commanders are not a cakewalk anymore. I like Taylor Heineke a lot. I like the Washington defense a lot. And if they get Chase Young back next week, that's going to be something that I think that the Giants are going to have to game plan for, because if a healthy Chase Young and that Washington pass rush with a good secondary in Washington, I think it's going to be really tough for the Giants. I think they've had a really nice run, but I think now the I think the pieces start to fall apart for the New York Giants. I'm going to go with the Commanders as well.
I still think the New York Giants have a bright future with Brian Dable as their head coach.
I still think so too. What's next?
Next up, we talk about Derrick Henry and the Tennessee Titans. Notice that I didn't say Ryan Tannehill because I'm not really a Ryan Tannehill guy. I'm a Derrick Henry guy when it comes to Tennessee.
Okay.
Going up against Jalen Hurts and the Philadelphia Eagles. 2 of my Bama boys are going at it.
All right. Eagles favored by 5.5.
I'm going to go with the Philadelphia Eagles. Tennessee, the only reason why I don't go for Tennessee in games is because of quarterback play.
Yeah, I think Ryan Tannehill is not really the guy in Tennessee long term. I think that Derrick Henry is a phenomenal guy. I think the Eagles defense is going to have a hard time tackling Derrick Henry, but if you got to pull out the stops with your quarterback to win this game, I think Tennessee can do it. Plus, the only thing I will say about that, Tennessee has a good run defense. So I think Miles Sanders and Jalen Hurts are going to have a little bit of a tough time going up against the Titans pass rush.
Oh my gosh, that run defense for Tennessee is nasty good.
They are really good.
Scary good. Oh my God.
I'm going to say the Eagles in this one. I think they cover the spread 5.5. What's next?
Next up, we go to from the 1 p.m. Eastern time slots to the 4 p.m. Eastern time slots. And oh my gosh, this is a gross game in my hometown. The LA Rams are taking on the Seattle Seahawks. And I don't know if Matthew Stafford is playing. The Rams have had a bad season, but it doesn't mean I blame Sean McVay for all of this, because none of this is his fault.
No. And the Seahawks are favored by 7.5.
Give me the Seattle Seahawks to win this game because they got unlucky against the Raiders, and I think the Rams' disappointing season continues, and I think the Rams need to build up for next year.
They do. I think they need a younger quarterback. I think Matthew Stafford was good for the 1 year last year, but I don't think he's going to be good long term. He's only What is he,
I think
36,
Matthew
30?
Stafford can still be good long term for the Rams. I could still see it in Matthew Stafford that he could still win multiple Super Bowls. He still has that DNA in him.
He does. I'm going to go with Seattle covering the spread easily.
Everybody
Bryce,
says Matthew Stafford is washed, and I'm like, look, you're just giving the guy some slack.
yeah. Um, yeah, I'm going to go with the Seattle Seahawks. Bryce Perkins is just not going to do anything. What's next?
Next up, Mike McDaniel returns to Levi Stadium as Tua and the Dolphins take on Jimmy and the Niners. I'm not going for San Francisco here. I'm gonna go with my guy Tua Tagovailoa and the Miami Dolphins, rolling with my Bama boys.
All right. The Niners are favored by 4. I like the Miami Dolphins. I think they're going to. I'll take that +4. I'll take the Miami Dolphins. I think that their offense is just better than San Francisco's. What's
Yes,
next?
yes. I just to say that Tua has played so well since coming back from concussion protocol, and I'm telling you, people, he doesn't care what the critics say. I don't care what people say about Tua, about like, oh, he's washed. He sucks. He can't stay healthy. I'm like, look, you got to see what he could do when he's fully healthy. And I've told you and many people that Tua is the man in Miami.
He very well could be. He might be comeback player of the year or even MVP. What's next?
Next up, America's Game of the Week on CBS with Jim Nantz and Tony Romo.
Uh-huh.
Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs take on Joe Burrow and the Bengals in an AFC title game rematch in the jungle. Who
And
do
the
I
Chiefs are
like in this game?
hold on, the Chiefs
So
are favored by 2.5.
give me the Bengals. Joe Burrow is getting this team back on track, and Joe Burrow will continue to have Mahomes' number.
If you're a betting man, I take the over 52.5 points. I think this is going to be a high scoring affair, especially when you think about what happened in week 17 of last year. Not just the AFC Championship game, but week 17 of last year. Both these offenses put up a lot of points. Jamar Chase should be coming back this week, which is a good positive sign. Joe Mixon should be coming back this week, which should be a positive sign for the Bengals. So I think a fully healthy Bengals team in Cincinnati against this Chiefs defense, which is subpar at best, will get the best of Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. So I'll take the Bengals +2.5 here.
Next up, my guy Josh McDaniels and the Las Vegas Raiders host Justin Herbert and the Chargers. This is a trap game for both teams.
Mm-hmm. And the Chargers are favored by 1.5.
I am going to pick the Raiders. They're starting to show life, and I picked them to win last week, and I'm going to roll with them again.
Okay. I'm going to go with the Chargers, actually. I'm going to go with the Chargers because I think that they're pushing.
To be honest with you, I like the Chargers too because they play in my hometown. Though I
Yeah,
love Justin Herbert. Justin Herbert is a great guy, but I'm telling you, for next Sunday when you and I call that Dolphins Chargers game, I take Tua any time over the day over Justin Herbert.
yeah. It's a tough one, but I think I'd go with that direction. But I'm going to go with the Chargers. I think they're going to continue their playoff push and actually uh, make some noise over the final several weeks of the season. What's next?
Well, we're calling this game the Fighting Jeff Saturdays going to Jerry World against the Dallas Cowboys.
And the Cowboys are favored by 11 points.
Ooh. Give me the Fighting Jeff Saturdays.
I agree with you. I think 11 points is really, really high. I gotta go with the Colts on this one.
And I'm saying this because I want to make Stephen A. proud. I go for the Cowboys if it's an opponent that I know it's going to be a cakewalk for them.
Yeah, and the Colts are not really much of a cakewalk these days.
No, they're not. That's why I said I'm going for the Fighting Jeff Saturdays.
Fighting Jeff
And
Saturdays is.
I can't wait to call that game with you on Sunday. We get to see the Colts again.
I know, back-to-back weeks.
And then we
And
see them
last,
again in after Christmas against the Chargers.
absolutely. All right, what's the final game?
We're also calling this game Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Bucks going up against the New Orleans Saints. And I'll tell you, Matt, this could be the last game, that last regular season contest that we cover featuring Tom Brady.
The Buccaneers are favored by 3.5. This is a very, very interesting game.
Must win for Tampa Bay after that unlucky loss to the Cleveland Browns. Give me
Oh
my
yeah.
man, Tom Brady, the GOAT, to give the Bucks another win.
If you're the Saints and if you're the Panthers, it's not over as far as division crown goes. There's still a lot of time to win the division title. Like everyone in this division has at least 4 wins. So, with that being said, it's in Tampa. Even though the Saints are the kryptonite for Tom Brady, I'm going to say that Tom Brady comes out and covers the spread -3.5 and wins this game.
Well, that's I could agree with you there, but you know what? I can't wait. Matt, I'm telling you, on Twitter Spaces, when we call this game between the Bucks and the Saints, reflect on this. This could be the last regular season game that you and I call with Tom Brady. We've done three Brady games so far on our time together calling games, and this is our fourth with Brady.
I know. It's very, very crazy how fast time goes by. All right, now, before we go, I promised certain people that I would do this if I won in fantasy, so I'm just gonna put this chair all the way in the back. All right, I'm wearing the Jameson jersey. It's a jersey that my boss gave me, but I promised that if I won in fantasy this week, I would do the gritty on air. And here we go.
Is that Jamison Williams doing that dance?
What happened?
Is that the Jamison Williams dance or Dion Branch dance?
No, that's the gritty. I'm trying to do my best gritty.
Yeah, you won in fantasy. Did you beat Ryan's team again?
No, I beat my father, the worst team in the league. I promised Ryan that if I won this week in fantasy, I would do the gritty on air, and I think that was my best gritty. But anyway,
I don't know if Ryan has Facebook. Do you know if he does?
no, he doesn't. He has an Instagram though.
Oh, okay. I thought Ryan Behringer Jr. has Facebook.
But all right. So anyway, for those of you who are wondering where Ryan Barrett Jr. is, and you just tuned into the show, he's studying. He couldn't be here tonight, but Laura and I held it down pretty good, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, I like when you and I do the show to kind of help fill the void that Ryan left, and that's why it's a good thing that I'm on this program, just because if Ryan can't be there, it's just me and you.
Yeah, exactly. So, follow us on Facebook at Siriani Says Sports, at Colorcast. Oh no, not Colorcast. Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter. Those are the 4 platforms that you gotta follow us on. At Siriani Says Sports on Facebook, at Siriani Says Sports on Instagram, at Siri Says Sports on Twitter, and at Siriani Says Sports on what was that final platform?
You said YouTube.
YouTube. Yes. Thank you very much. But
Anyways,
anyway,
don't forget, this Saturday we'll be talking sports with Laura and Matt. Our first episode will be airing on Facebook via StreamYard. Be sure to tune in for that. And then Sunday, Matt and I will be on the call for when the Indianapolis Colts take on the Dallas Cowboys, and then Monday Night Football in Tampa.
absolutely. So a lot of stuff going on. But from Lower Antonio, I'm Matt Sirianni. Thank you so much for tuning in to tonight's Sirianni Says Sports. Have a great night, everyone. Stay safe. Make sure you get those Christmas presents for the holidays. So stay safe, have fun, of course.
Or
Peace out.
don't forget to get your shopping done in advance.
Don't forget to get your shopping done in advance. All right. Good night, everybody.